So it's January 2nd, 2010. Came across a reminder of a couple things I want to go over. One is about Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Hussein Obama. And he's trying to make sure that the next generation of babies will be born into slavery, which is kind of ironic, I would say, being that the first Afro-American would reinstitute slavery. Well, he's not being discriminatory. He's making all kids slaves by forcing them, when they reach adulthood, to buy health insurance. That's what he wants to do, and making their parents slaves. And I guess this is the first case of real slavery since the Civil War. Anyhow, the question is George W. Bush afraid that Barry Soetoro is going to have him arrested and jailed if he does not keep his mouth shut? Is that the problem? Is there something that George Bush did that he has to keep such a low profile that he won't be thrown in jail? One has to wonder what the heck Barry Soetoro has on George Bush to have him hiding underneath a rock down here in Texas somewhere. I mean, his silence has to make all of you Texans out there ashamed of having this man talk about him having swagger and all this sort of stuff. He is a disgrace to Texas. He is a disgrace to the United States. And the reason why I say that, he's the man who was pushing these medical health savings accounts with high deductible health insurance plans. And that was his answer to affordable health insurance. And there seems to be a lot of merit to it. But the point is, a lot of people took his advice and did it. And he had these, he had all these town meetings, I guess, type things where he went around and had all these people tell about this great concept. It was almost like some sort of religious revival meeting where, people were saying, people were able to walk again, if you know what I mean. When they heal people, they put their hand over them and go, heal, and then they can walk. Well, this was kind of what George Bush was talking about when he had these meetings. And like I said, there's a lady up in Massachusetts. Her name is Beverly Flaxington, I believe it is. She's on YouTube, and all she wants to do is have catastrophic health insurance and take care of the small crap herself. But the state of Massachusetts will not recognize her insurance plan. And you think George Bush should be aware of this and go to her aid and say, this is ridiculous. What are you doing to this woman? But George Bush doesn't care about anybody except George Bush. He's afraid. He's afraid to speak up, whether he's afraid Obama's going to have him arrested for something they got on him while he was president. Who knows? But it's very interesting that this Texan with all kinds of swagger, supposedly, is now hiding under a rock down in Texas. And he won't say a goddamn thing. And either he's a chicken, a coward, whatever. He's surely not a Texan. He should go back where he came from, because I can't believe it's from Texas. So that's the deal with George Bush, the embarrassment he has been, not protecting our southern borders, showing disdain for the people who try to defend our borders. Yeah, he's really amazing guy. What's happening now is that it appears that our Constitution is totally being ignored, and there's only one way to really address this, and that is to get 2/3 of the state legislatures. That's 34 states out of 50. And if we can do that, the House and the Senate must call for a constitutional convention. And the convention has to propose one or more amendments, which must be approved by a simple majority, by a minimum of 3/4 of the state legislatures, both the House and Senate, or by a minimum of 3/4 of the state's conventions. This has never been done. It has never been done. But we need to reassert the basic principles of the U.S. Constitution. Now, there's a bunch of people running around trying to circumvent the U.S. Constitution, saying it's outmoded, it's not what's happening now, and that we have to change things because our forefounders did not know what cell phones were or whatever. The problem is we don't know what freedom is. And it goes back to the Second Amendment, where they'll say, well, back then they didn't have smokeless powder, they didn't have the technology, they didn't have laser sights, they didn't have all kinds of neat stuff, rapid fire. Well, you could go back to the First Amendment. I mean, if you want to start second-guessing the forefounders, you could say, well, if the forefounders knew there were such things as fax machines, duplicating machines, Xerox machines, internet radio, television, satellite television, satellite radio, telephone. I mean, the technology made in communications is far in excess of anything that has been made in munitions in terms of speed, cables going across the Atlantic, satellites. Communications is almost instantaneous. So if you want to make a case that guns are more dangerous than they were, well, the freedom of words is more dangerous now than it was back in 1776, and yet you never hear anybody talking about this. So I think we have to go back and ask your legislature in the state to call for a new constitutional convention with the explicit purpose to reinforce the Constitution the way it was written. We have all the various Federalist Papers. We know exactly what these guys were talking about. And the whole purpose of our government was to maintain our God-given freedoms. The government doesn't give us freedoms, and I've mentioned this before. The King of England didn't give us freedoms. Basically, God gave us our freedoms, and it's the purpose and the solemn oath of these people who were elected and appointed to uphold the U.S. Constitution. They're not upholding the U.S. Constitution. We have people in the Supreme Court using foreign laws to make decisions on what's happening in the United States. That's treasonous. No one said a damn thing about it. We have the eminent domain case where they are forcing people out of their homes to make way for a mall so they can get higher tax revenues in an area. Whereas these people had the foresight to buy these pieces of property overlooking a river or whatever in Ohio. This is undisgusting. George Bush said, we got to change the Constitution. George Bush didn't do anything. It was never in the media. It was never a campaign issue. There's so many things that should be campaign issues, and they're not. And all you people out there are not saying a damn thing. It's like, what was it, the body snatchers, which I referred to in the previous YouTubes. There was a movie called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They take over people's minds, and it's almost like all your minds out there, or a good percentage of you, are like taken over. It's scary. It really is that you could allow these people to get away with this eminent domain in such an abuse. I can understand the need for a hospital, widening a road, that type of thing. But when you're actually letting foreign money come in here and say, hey, we can make a nice condo mall out of this thing and sell more crap from China, and they throw these people out. How can you in good consciousness not say anything? There are so many cases like this that no one's saying anything about. It's very disgusting. And we need to call for a constitutional convention, and the way we can start is if each of you start a dialogue with your state senators and assembly people and demand that they propose this. Because this mandatory health care, let me tell you, this is over the top. This will be the first time that our babies born will be now slaves, and we have to do something about it. Anyhow, that's it for now, January 2nd. 2010. God bless America, what's left of it.